They say when someone dies, the house holds their memory. What they don't tell you is that it can also hold their secrets. I hadn't spoken to my parents in over 5 years when my grandmother died. We weren't exactly close, my family made sure of that. My mother used to say I had too many questions, and my father said I was too soft. But Grandma Rose always saw me differently. She was the only one who didn't flinch when I came out. The only one who visited when I was in the hospital after that overdose I don't talk about. She called me her truth teller. I didn't know what she meant by that until after she died. Her will left me everything. Not a penny to my parents. Not a coin to my older brother Marcus, who always been their golden boy. I got the house, the big, weather-worn farmhouse on the edge of Ash Grove. I got the savings accounts. The land. Even her car. At first, I thought it was a miracle. Finally, something good. I moved in within a week. Started cleaning. Fixing things. I was going to start fresh, turn it into a writer's retreat maybe. Until the first night I heard the sound. It came from the basement. A soft scraping. Like metal on concrete. At 2:14 a.m. every night. I tried to brush it off. Maybe the house was settling. Maybe it was an old pipe. But then I found the door. It wasn't like the rest of the house. The basement door was reinforced, made of thick wood with an iron handle and a sliding bolt on the outside. That's when I knew, it wasn't meant to keep something out. It was meant to keep something in. It was locked. There was no key. So I left it. For a while. I tried to ignore the noises, the cold air that sometimes rose up from under the crack of the door, the strange smell that sometimes drifted into the hallway like bleach and something older. But the house wouldn't let me forget. And neither would the letter I found behind Grandma's mirror, wrapped in plastic. It was addressed to me. If you're reading this, they've already turned on you. I knew they would. They turned on your uncle too, the one no one talks about. Don't believe the accident story. The truth is in the basement. But if you open it, you'll never see your family the same way again. I stared at that letter for a long time. Grandma never talked about any uncle. My mom always said she was an only child. And that's when the pieces started to click into place. They lied. All of them. There was someone else. And I was about to find out who and what they locked in the dark. I didn't sleep for 2 nights after reading that letter. I wandered through the house like a ghost, the dim yellow bulbs casting long shadows on the old wooden walls. And every time I passed the basement door, I swear I could feel it breathing. Cold air seeped out from underneath, bringing with it the faint scent of disinfectant and something older, metallic, almost like dried blood. I knew I had to open it. The next afternoon, I drove into town and bought a crowbar and a heavy-duty flashlight. I waited until sunset. Something about the darkness made it feel more honest, like I needed the night to face whatever was waiting below. I stood in front of that door, my palms slick with sweat, crowbar in hand. If I open this, I whispered to myself, there's no going back. I wedged the crowbar into the seam and heaved. The wood groaned. The hinges screamed like they were being murdered. After 3 hard pulls, the bolt snapped loose. The door creaked open slow, heavy, and a wall of cold air hit my face. I flicked on the flashlight and stared down a set of stairs descending into black. They weren't normal basement steps. These were older, narrower, steep, and uneven. Each one sagged under my weight like it didn't want me coming down. The air was thick and stale, like a hospital wing sealed shut for decades. I held my breath and stepped into the dark. When the flashlight beam hit the floor, I froze. This was no storage space. It was a cell. Concrete walls. No windows. No exit besides the stairs. In the center was an old iron-framed bed, rusted at the joints. A wooden desk bolted to the floor, with metal restraints bolted into the surface, one still stained with something brown. A single bare bulb dangled overhead, long since dead. In the corner, a large patch of the wall was discolored like blood had once soaked through and dried over decades. I turned, scanning the rest of the room, and saw the photo. It was nailed crookedly to the wall. A young man, maybe early 20s, with thick dark hair and eyes that looked exactly like mine. Below the frame, scribbled in faded black ink, Simon, 1972 to 1996. Simon. I took a step back, heartbeat thudding in my chest. No one in my family had ever mentioned a Simon. My mother always said she was an only child. My dad sure as hell never talked about anyone named Simon. And that S when it hit me, Grandma's letter. They did the same thing to your uncle. That meant, this man, this ghost locked beneath my feet, was my father's brother. My uncle. And they erased him. I turned to the desk. Its drawers were stuck, but the middle one creaked open. Inside was a small wooden box, locked but brittle. I pried it open. There were old letters inside, notes scrawled in shaky handwriting, medical reports, and a small black cassette tape labeled, "Confession, do not destroy." I didn't wait. I brought it upstairs, found Grandma's old stereo, and popped the tape in. After a few crackles of static, I heard the voice I'd grown up fearing, my father. He's a danger, Rose. A freak. You didn't see the things he wrote, the drawings. He talked to things in the dark. He was going to tear this family apart. Then came Grandma's voice, soft but steady. He was scared. Not sick. And even if he was, he needed help, not a cage. He was your brother. A loud slap followed. And then something worse. A metallic rattle. Screaming in the background, the sound of a body slamming into walls. Chains dragging across concrete. Then silence. My legs gave out. I sat there on the floor, staring at nothing, the echo of my father's voice still bouncing off the walls. They didn't just abandon Simon. They imprisoned him. For being different. For being broken. Or maybe just for being inconvenient. They erased him from the family. Wrote him out of existence. Just like they tried to do to me. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Simon's face, trapped, pale, screaming behind the walls of my childhood. My uncle wasn't a story. He was real. And he was erased. I sat on the porch as the sun came up, cassette tape in one hand, my father's voice still ringing in my ears. By mid-morning, I made my decision. I called my parents. When my mother picked up, her voice was clipped and cold. "You have no reason to call here," she said before I could even speak. I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. I simply said, "I found the basement." Silence. A long, deep silence. Then a single sentence, whispered so low I almost missed it. "You weren't supposed to go down there." "I know," I said. "Because that's where you buried the truth." I hung up before she could answer. It didn't take long for them to show up. 2 hours later, my parents' silver SUV pulled into the gravel driveway like a hearse. My father stepped out first, older now, but still carrying that heavy weight of authority he wore like a weapon. My mother followed, her eyes flicking toward the house like it was haunted. I didn't invite them in. I stood in the doorway, blocking it. You went looking for things that should ve stayed buried, my father said, folding his arms like this was my betrayal. No, I replied. You buried your own brother. You lied to everyone. You locked him in a basement and erased him. I have the tape. He flinched. You have no idea what he was like, my mother hissed suddenly. He wasn't well. He hurt people. He was sick, Mom. That doesn't mean you throw him in a cell. He wanted to burn the house down. She snapped. He carved things into the walls. He screamed at night. He told me shadows were talking to him. He said the walls were alive. I stared at her. And your answer was chains. They had no words. For a long time, none of us spoke. The weight of the past hung thick in the air between us, heavier than anything I'd ever felt. Why didn't Grandma stop you? I asked quietly. My father's face darkened. She tried. But she was old. I was the one who had to make the decisions. No. He didn't have to. He chose to. They turned to leave when I told them I was going to the police. You'll destroy this family's name, my mother said, almost like it was a threat. No, I told her. You already did that. I'm just uncovering the headstone. The cops came 2 days later. I gave them the tape. The photos. The letters. Everything. They opened an investigation and confirmed that human remains were likely buried behind the basement wall. I suspected it, and now they were bringing in cadaver dogs and forensic teams. I never got a full answer as to how Simon died. I don't know if he took his own life, or if someone helped him disappear. My father lawyered up. My mother left town. And I stayed. In the house. With the ghosts. I renovated the basement. Tore up the concrete floor. Built a proper memorial for Simon. Had his name put on a headstone. I even placed the photo ID found his face so much like mine above the fireplace. People in town started asking questions. Quiet ones. The family who always looked so perfect in church, weren't so perfect after all. And me, I wrote everything down. Every detail. Because I realized what Grandma meant when she called me her truth teller. Our family built their name on silence. I was born to break it.